Good? Okay. So we've been going on a little bit about the somewhat different areas of the Four Noble Truths, and went through the truth of suffering and the path we're going to go to today, which is the fourth. So you have the cessation of suffering, after the truth of suffering and the true cause of suffering, and then the path to the cessation of suffering, which starts with a little bit like with view. So we need to understand. Of course, view is very interesting because view is not just with our eyes, but is with our entire being. Everything that we perceive, basically. So view can be wrong on all levels, which is where the problem is. The reality is that the true nature of our mind, and so again we use words. We say, okay, the true nature of mind. What does true nature of a mind mean? Well, nature, in general, if we say, okay, what's the kind of nature of water? Well, the nature of water is wet. The nature of wind, is to blow, and the nature of a fire is to have heat. Well, the nature of our mind means the way that we truly exist if we decide to really see our mind itself. And that sounds strange, but the mind is pure awareness. The mind has the ability to know everything, and has the ability to know itself. So I used to love when Lama Yeshe used to talk about that our mind is like a mirror. So the mirror has the ability to reflect objects. If objects come into a mirror, the mirror reflects it. It doesn't think what it's reflecting, it just reflects it. If there's dust and dirt on the mirror, then you're not going to get a clear picture. You're not going to see properly. So our mind has the ability to reflect. It reflects everything. Everything we're thinking, we're doing, that's what our mind. We don't know. We didn't grow up with this. Nobody told us, what's our mind. We don't know what our mind is. We know where the TV's at. We know where the refrigerator's at. We know how to get to the park or something. But nobody said, do you know how to get to your mind? So these type of practices, to begin to wake up that self-awareness, within ourselves. So the beauty of the analogy of the mirror, to me anyway, is that the reason, that we can see with that mirror, because the mirror and the dust and the dirt are not one, so you can wipe them off. If that dirt was mixed with the mirror, we wouldn't be able to separate it. We wouldn't be able to get that out. The real nature of our mind is not mixed with our confused thoughts, with our neurotic thoughts, with our angers and hatreds and jealousies and all these different things. We've created that that matrix of thought within ourselves. I think in the last talk we were talking, I was saying that somebody's been in there lying to us. It's lying to us all the time. Oh, this is you. This is what you have to be. That's again, kind of what a lot of times people throw out in a very loose manner, ego. Ego is really not only ignorance in the sense of not knowing, but it's even worse than that. It's knowing wrongly. So it's one thing if you don't know what the temperature is outside, okay? And because you don't know what the temperature is, all right, so, you might not be prepared for it if it's cold or if it's hot. But knowing wrongly, when it's freezing cold, you go dress for summer outside. That's on a superficial level. That's on a very superficial level. But that knowing wrongly creates problems, creates confusion, creates different effects upon us. And so the necessity of trying to know properly is what the real path is. That's what the real path is. And the real path is that ego is not only lying to us, but he's also deceptive. We can call him, hey, deceiver, get out of here. Why is it deceiving us? How is it deceiving us? What is this ego doing to deceive us? It's basically putting on a magic show all the time. It's basically putting on this type of ways of knowing wrongly. It's saying this is the way this is. So one of the analogies that's used inside some of the books and things, it's kind of like, which probably doesn't happen to us very often, but you can imagine if you were living now in India or back in the day in Tibet, and you're doing a lot of walking outside, and especially where there's a lot of nature, but it's when you see a rope and think it's a snake. So you react wrongly to it. It's not a snake, but your mind believes it's a snake. So our mind, just like in our dream state, unless we're practicing dream yoga and know how to be aware inside of our dreams, our mind is affected the same as it's affected in a daily life. There's not that much difference between the daily life and the dream life. In the dream life, the objects are not there on the physical plane, but our mind doesn't know that. And so what takes place in our daily life is that this deceiver inside of us basically tries to trick us into thinking, this is this way and that's that way. What we don't understand is we come from this kind of clean, clear, knowing state of mind. And from that state of mind, instead of just knowing the situation, instead of being able to view it properly, we begin to create an entire dialogue. And so we go into the situation that this is this and this is that. And so the way that deceptor works is it's got to keep things moving fast. So from the standpoint of being upset with one thing, all of a sudden then we begin to have jealousy towards something else, or we begin to have hatred toward this. And so as long as it keeps moving inside all of this, then that deceptor has a life. Not really a life. It's like a magic show. This ego makes us believe it's there, makes us believe this is really me. So when we begin to slow ourselves down and we begin to enter into our practices, and whatever comes to our vision, whatever comes through our ears, the ear consciousness, whatever comes through feeling, through smell, all of these things, all of that, when we begin to slow down, begins to just be what it is if we slow down enough. And this scares that deceiver badly because, he's about to disappear. He's not going to be around because he doesn't really exist. He's been fooling us the entire time pretty much with this. And the more we feed into that, then that's where we keep on creating this karmic formation, which makes up who we are. And then that's what's called the chain of karma, being locked in the chain of karma because of being locked into this entire type of process. So one of the best things I think of is letting go. So letting go is very interesting. On the very general level, basic level, we can think, okay, you did this to me, and it's okay. I'm just going to let it go, and we're going to move on. I mean, whether it's true we're really letting it go or not, it's probably not 100% true. But we'll make the conscious level that we want to let go of it, so it doesn't have control over us. When it comes to practice, when it comes to meditation, it's like a secret. It's like a secret we don't know. We can let go right now in this particular given moment, and we have unlimited possibilities existing as part of our being, as part of our mind, our inside at this particular time. But the secret is this is where I don't like the words letting go, which I've said before, and if not here at lamas and things. Letting go really means absence of doing. Because letting go is another doing. It's doing something. I got to do something. I'm not satisfied where I am in this moment. I got to do something. So we're unsatisfied. What happens when we're able to just have an absence? And we can experience this, I guess our chemistry lab is our meditation, is our sitting. We sit down and we sit and the things are coming up. And as soon as we start to realize that we have this duality, the deceiver is saying, you're you and that's that. And we're believing in this duality. So it's believing duality when the reality is non-duality. Non-duality. Everything we deal with, everything we perceive is perceived purely through non-duality. But this layer that's covering the mirror, this layer that's covering the mind, this liar is in there telling us that it's duality. Again and again, it's duality. So I need something else. This is not enough. So we don't learn to experience fully pure presence of the now, the nowness. So that letting go, that absence of doing means I don't have to, sometimes you'll hear teachers will say you don't have to do anything, you don't have to add anything, you don't have to subtract anything, which is exactly what it is. We're always, trying to add on, or we're trying to subtract, we're trying to get away from something, we're trying to get to something else. So for the view, to be, pure on the path, it begins to just deal somewhat with the nowness. I mean, the obvious examples, easy examples is we're outside and we see the flowers growing, we see the trees changing colors and things, and it looks beautiful. And then the next moment, mind already starts to go and compare. Compare it to this, compare it to last spring, compare it to next week, compare to this. So it's already losing the experience of the nowness, the openness of letting go, of not doing anything, just fully experiencing that. And so we have our practices that we've talked about, many times at these talks for, whether it's while we're eating, that we begin to actually taste our food, eat our food, let our mind slow down, like the sayings. We got some great sayings that somebody knew what they were saying. Slow down and smell the coffee. I mean, I like coffee, so I like to smell the coffee, but slow down and smell the coffee. We're moving so fast because we have to keep moving that we don't appreciate it. We don't appreciate the momentness, every momentness of our body. There is no real moment. I mean, past the three times, past, future, and now don't exist. They're just labels. Past is already gone. The future hasn't come yet. And if you look for the now, it's gone already too. It's just because our mind is this stream. Just moving. It's just moving along. Just a stream. It's not a place, for it to grab at it. And so the ability of bringing fresh awareness, into the moment. It just reminded me of a something I read many years ago. It was talking about. They were looking to cut down a field, so I guess it was like, let's say if it was like growing corn and things, and so they're going to chop. So they ended up having this, like the military, there. And so the military went out there and they took a military approach, boom, 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 all their energy doing it all, and okay, they did a good job, but in a little while they were tired out, they were wore out. And then I think there was talking about the approach of the Native American Indians, who went out there and kind of had some kind of a flow to it. And so, they didn't get to that point faster than the Army, much slower, but they were all kept going. I guess it's kind of like the tortoise, moving slow. So then in our meditation, we can take on an approach that says, okay, I think I want to meditate for 1 hour, or I want to sit for half an hour. And basically we think it's, just that time, and whatever's coming up, I'm going to force my way through it. That's kind of like the military approach. The truth is, there is nothing more beautiful than when we're just experiencing the openness of our elements, of our space, the space of ourself, and being able to sit with ourselves. We don't have to go into this other room. We don't have to, get another Netflix movie. We don't need to do this. We can just be with ourselves. So if it's meditation, we can just be inside that meditation, and whatever arises, instead of fighting with something because there's something in my knee or there's something in my back, and we think there's this duality, me feeling this, we go beyond that duality, and our mind gets a taste of non-duality, just a glimpse. But that glimpse is extremely powerful. It's extremely powerful. I guess you could use the word enlightening, because that's exactly what it is. It's enlightening. All of a sudden, you see that all this time we've been lied to. There's a secret. We can actually be satisfied. There's a full satisfaction, within ourselves. All energies are within ourselves to be reached at all times. They can't be bought by going to Costco. Not going to be bought by, getting on the airplane. They're there. They're within us. So the approach to sitting in that meditation becomes different for that 1 hour, for the half hour, whatever it might be, and you begin to have an absence of fighting, letting go. Even when you begin to let go little bits, it's like a breath of fresh air. It's like being where it was hot and all of a sudden the air conditioning just came on. You're able to breathe. There's some oxygen there. The oxygen's coming to my brain, and we're able to deal with it. From a discipline standpoint, yes, we can sit and force ourselves to sit for some time, and actually some things will probably come to us. But if we want to know the secret, sit there without fighting. Let go. Just be there at that particular time. The same thing then begins to take place when they call post-meditation, so that when we begin to move, we actually can move through the day with a different attitude, a different mentality, toward what's coming up. Because we're not going to be controlled by what these patterns have been created by ego's network. Ego's networks created these patterns. You have to be that way. Now all of a sudden, we don't believe them anymore. And that's why we begin to let go of that a little bit. So even though we see the rope on the ground, now we don't believe it, because our wisdom, the wisdom mind, knows it to be a rope. These analogies are fantastic for understanding. If we're driving down the road and we see the water that's sitting there, it looks like there's a lake in front of us. We're going to drive into a lake, but our mind, the wisdom, knows it's a mirage. So we don't veer off to the left and to the right. We continue to drive. At this point, we take the magic show as being real. We take it all as being real. so that when somebody is able to control the elements and make stones and rocks and dirt and things all of a sudden appear like an airplane, and our mind sees there's an airplane in front of us. It's not the magician knows it's not real. That's the difference. When our wisdom knows these things are not real, we then begin to have that type of space and openness, within ourselves. And that changes that changes the entire atmosphere. That changes how we are, with everybody. We already know right now when we find ourselves just under normal circumstances, for whatever reason, we've got good karma and it feels like a good day, I'm in a good mood. Somebody who usually will bother us, it doesn't bother us as much. So that's why when we're sitting in our meditation and we find that calm, clear space inside of us, we can recognize what's coming up, but it doesn't shake us. The top of the ocean is shaking. It's a hurricane going on. It's rough up there. But the nature of that water down deep is calm and clear. The nature of our mind is calm, clear. Thank you for the water. If I drop something in this glass, put a coin inside this glass and shake it, it maybe is not clear. I can't see what's there. But if I stop shaking it, then you're able to see what's there, the calm, clear. That's what we need to understand. That's the view we have to develop on the path, is beginning to understand that the clarity is our heritage. It's real. It is never going away. That clarity can never. You can break the mirror, but you can't break our pure mind. Our pure mind cannot be broken. So that's always going to be there. So the practice, the path itself, is learning to work with these circumstances, because what they end up doing is they end up taking the pure crystal that can reflect whatever comes through it and refracting it. And the ones that we've decided we have aversion to and we follow after, those are the winds of our karma and the energy that's stirred up, and we basically have it shaken, and we can't see that there's actually nothing to have aversion to. I'm about to say something. I don't know if I should say. I mean, I might get banned from Buddhist thing because I don't know if it's real or not. But I had this thought that came up that Buddha in its totality doesn't get rid of anything. Nothing in there is enough to cause affliction. So you don't really get rid of any of the energies. That's why the practices in the Buddhist path, when you move into Vajrayana, the tantric path, begins to work with your energies. So you work with the energies of desire and aversion, for them to become crystallized. And this, you use that for awakening. It's not that we have to we don't have to walk around like zombies. For those of us that might have watched Star Trek, we don't have to walk around like Spock, and things. We have our personality, but what's behind us? That's the key. That's the attitude that we begin to have. Because when the water is murky and you can't see what's underneath there, and we can't see what's underneath us, we've already divided up the world, and we've made it so that we can't be happy, because we're going to meet problems, because half of what we have created to not like is going to come about, and we're going to have aversion to it, and the other half we're going to run around chasing after. Instead of being able to let the mind interact clearly, cleanly with ourselves, with our life, with our families and things. We begin to interact in a wrong fashion. So the practice then becomes imperative for us, in a sense, to try to remember to let go. But remember what let go means. Again, absence of doing. So while we're sitting there, while we're sitting there and meditating, we're sitting there meditating, and I keep looking for enlightenment. I keep looking for something else to come about. I'm grasping at something else or something more. And then some sounds are outside, and that's like, that's disturbed me. I don't like that and things. So, the point is that that's where, think of yourself as Buddha. Let it all in. It doesn't have, in reality, it doesn't have effect on us. Okay, so we in a sense almost take, like the Tantra does, which takes the result into the present. Instead of thinking as this, messed up, insecure person with neurotic tendencies, we begin to think of ourselves based off of our Buddha nature, our God nature, and understand that. And so then when we begin to deal with people throughout the day, there actually becomes a possibility of beginning to have sensitivity, for those around us. A little bit of compassion, a little bit of love for the confusion, and especially with most of the people we come in touch with, almost all of them don't have the ability, don't have a knowledge, don't have anybody showing them there might be something more. So it's very difficult. They're really in a painful situation because they're locked into it. They don't even have a chance to create doubt because they haven't heard anything. So in the Buddhist sense, this is the beginning, the opening of what's called the Mahayana path. So again, remembering the Maha in this sense is a Sanskrit word which means path. It means great. Maha means great, and Yana is path or vehicle. So this path, this vehicle, begins to stop being so self-centered, only about me, and self-cherishing only about me, that it begins to open up, in a sense. So the great, in this sense, means that instead of this little, instead of being that horse that's got the blinders on while it runs, it begins to open up and see the world around as well. And because we know the confusion within our own minds, we can begin to feel the confusion within others' minds, and begin to generate some type of love, which is basically wishing for them to be happy and more importantly, even have the cause of happy. Because if you're only happy, that karma is going to run out. We all know that. It's almost a shame. You go on that trip, you're having a good time and you're happy, but as soon as you're on that trip, you start thinking, I got to leave in 5 days or in 4 days, and it's already working. It's working its way in. So, but if they have also the cause of happiness, then to create continuous happiness, compassion in the Buddhist sense is wishing for others to be free from suffering, and again, the cause of suffering. So, all of a sudden these thoughts begin to open up in our mind, and if they begin to open up and we begin to feel, and it begins to spread, it spreads first with those around us, we work with our family, and moves out around and moves out within the world. That's where all of a sudden, our path begins to change, because there's not as much self-centeredness. The self-centeredness that's only thinking of me. So when we get into the situation of something, letting somebody else have something you want is fine, because you feel them not separate from yourself. In reality, we are all connected. We are all interconnected. We can't be happy if somebody we're close to and love is suffering pain, because we feel that. We understand that. We understand that pain. But we can be we can understand it, and we can understand them, and we can generate that kind of compassion, generate that love. So the Buddhists kind of talk quite a bit about the really bad attitude, which is called self-cherishing attitude. So the self-cherishing attitude is a real bad version of the ego. That's a real bad one, because the self-cherishing is only cherishing oneself. So instead of actually finding happiness, the self-cherishing attitude never finds happiness, because it's never enough. There's never, you can never have everything of everybody's. So the jealousy for what somebody else has, what a neighbor has, what somebody else you're working with, somebody else who got the promotion, different things, those things, they continue to come up. When we begin to turn that view, like with this camera, you can click the thing, and instead of the camera coming this way, you can come back at yourself. When you begin to turn it around, in a sense, and begin to generate cherishing for those around us, for others, then what really brings us happiness is that wish, in a sense, and whatever I can do, to make them happy. So within some of the different prayers are there thinking, may all those that are hungry, may I become food for them. May I offer them food. For all those that are thirsty, may they have water. All those that are hot, do they have a cool breeze? Those that are cold, can they have some warmth? You begin to try to work on generating those thoughts for all others, going off of this self-cherishing, letting go of that grasping only for me. Okay, so this changes the whole thing. That's why this path, this vehicle, becomes the great vehicle, because in order for our mind to really fully awaken, we could actually find peace and happiness only for ourselves. There's a way to go beyond our confused state and be happy for only ourselves, but it's not full enlightenment. Full enlightenment, full awakening can only be there when it's already encompassing all other types of living beings, all other life forces, any place, anywhere. And so that's why it's called great, and why it's called faster is a faster vehicle is because that's what our mind really is. When we're inside that pure state of mind, when we have little glimpses, whatever happens to us in circumstances of life, where our mind kind of quiets down and sees things, might be because of, sometimes it happens because you end up getting into a near-death situation or a car accident or something, and we realize, you realize something, and then some kind of awakening comes up, and you actually have some sensitivity feeling. I mean, really, we could see it, especially, you take a look during these crises and pandemics and things. There's a lot of bad stuff that goes on, but there's a lot of things people are trying to do to help other people too. So that is because, we begin to have some sensitivity, toward everybody else that we're living with, and understand we need to have this pure mind which doesn't have a speck covering the mirror, a speck covering the glass on the window in our windshield, to make us go the wrong way, that basically doesn't let us see that, okay, yeah, I definitely can be compassionate toward them, but those people, no way. No way. Well, there is a way. That's why. And as long as our mind is being tricked and being deceived and being in that confusion, we can't be in full happiness, in total openness, because we're already outside of the nature of our environment. Our environment is not just us, but is everything. which also, really, I mean, all part of it has to include, nature and things. How do we treat the nature around us? Are we going to abuse it so that so the air is not good enough anymore, so that the water is totally polluted, and then we have different kind of pandemics? That's what happens when the self-cherishing mind comes in and thinks, I'm making a lot of money. If I dump this stuff over here, that's okay, because I'm making all this money. I watched that Netflix thing, which I didn't know the whole story about it, with that OxyContin, with the pharmaceuticals, where the pharmaceutical basically knew and lied on purpose, to say that this drug is going to make you feel better. It's the pill's enlightenment. It's going to make you feel better faster and have no side effects. Completely false. People became addicted. It's caused thousands upon thousands of deaths and suicides and things from it. It's like, oh my God, these people, because they're making billions of dollars and need to make more billions and more billions for their children, have no care whatsoever. So they tell the marketing department, lie. Tell them it's good. Tell them it's better. That's what's going on within us. Is the self-cherishing thing, saying lie. Because if we can have something, it's better for us. I can keep talking, or we can have a little discussion. I'm fine with discussing. I think the ideas were enough, but anybody want to discuss? Don't be nervous. Okay, well, we can just stop. That's fine. Well, thank you very much. May this energy, any awakenings, any opening of mind and wisdom and positive energies from our meditation, may it go toward all living beings finding happiness, peace, free from sufferings, and ultimate enlightenment.